Hello and welcome back to another Canaries Chat podcast. My name's Luke and I'm here with my co-host Chris. We'll be talking all things Norwich City. Chris, how are you, my man? How's your holiday? How you been?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. A lot of Norwich action coming up. It's been very, very busy these past couple of weeks. Looking forward to this pod. There's a lot to talk about. And I can't wait to spend it with you, Chris. That's the main thing.
Ah, you little Kiwi.
Right, I think first things first, we'll start off the first league game of the season. Unless you're living under a rock, finished Oxford 2, Norwich nil. Not the best start that the Canaries would have wanted to their new championship campaign. But Chris, let's just start. What are your immediate thoughts from that game?
Not great. It's not panic stations. I'm not too worried in that sense, but I just think it shows how much further we've got to move. So the comparisons of Farker and Thorpe are always going to happen. I do believe Farker was able to get rid of a bit more deadwood in his first season compared to Thorpe, but I do think that was kind of. I don't think we'll ever see that starting 11 again. Put it that way. I think Hanley, Duffy. I've read somewhere that's the first time they've ever partnered each other centre backs at Norwich. The last time was in 2016 for Blackburn. So that was probably the first and last time that will ever happen. But I do think I'm not like it's tricky because it's really not good. But you look at the players that we've signed since then, or around then, and they're more Thorpe's players. And I think you put Cordova, Doyle, Hills, and Stacey. That's basically a new back line already. But you add in like Forson, Chrysine, players like that. They're all his kind of players. So I'm just waiting. I don't think we'll probably have a settled 11 probably until 10 games in. And then that's when we're going to hopefully start seeing the benefits of kind of this youthful new phase of this team.
I agree, mate. I think what we need to realize is change takes time, doesn't it? It doesn't happen overnight. You know, I think Thorpe hasn't been dealt with a great hand of cards at the moment. Obviously, there are some positive incomings that are coming to the squad, but you don't expect them to make an immediate impact. And if you notoriously look at, Norwich's sides over the previous years at our best outlets, Brendier didn't start for a long time. Signs hadn't started for a long time. Sarah didn't even get into that side for a long time. So I still feel like the best is yet to come. Like you said, I don't think it's time to panic at the moment, but definitely not a good result and not a good start to our Norwich season. You know, I I understand fans are frustrated. I understand they felt like it was a lot similar to last season and no change had happened. But what I don't agree with is booing at the end of the game. I personally think that's a little bit silly. You're entitled to your opinion. Don't get me wrong. If you felt that way, fair enough. But I think to boo the team on their first game of the season was probably a little bit too extreme. But that's just my opinion.
I believe probably people are booing more the way that we played and that they were seeing kind of very, very similar style eleven. And the Duffy, equally, I'm the same with you, kind of. You've got a young new manager in place who we will get onto it later, but it's not an excuse for how we played, but was dealt a very poor hand at the start of the game with the Jonathan Rowe situation. He's had to then obviously he brought Fashnat in instead of Kamara. That's up to him. He's the manager. I don't think anyone necessarily agreed with it, but he's obviously seen stuff in training or doesn't think Kamara was up to it. That's fine, whatever. Um, but I don't really get like the concept of the booing when we're trying to buy into a new philosophy and we're trying to buy in to a new style of play. That's not going to be immediate. For some reason, fans think, oh well, he's had a pre-season. we should be playing like prime Barcelona or prime Liverpool with the gegenpress and stuff like that. Like it's just not going to happen. He needs that time to mould, and I mean he's here for the long run anyway. Let's be honest. He's Bowen's going to do absolutely nothing because everything is talked about a 3-year plan. The only way he goes is if we're in a relegation battle, probably, and that realistically, hopefully, won't happen. So you've got to buy into it. Booing on the first game of the season, I think, is ridiculous, personally.
Yeah, I like you said, we've got to buy into this, and this is a long-term plan. Don't expect Norwich to be doing very well this season because I don't feel like we're probably even going to be pushing for playoffs this year. I'd love to be proven wrong. Don't get me wrong. I want us to win every game if we can, but this definitely seems like a long-term plan. And I just don't think that we'll expect to have a great season this year. Thorpe is still finding his feet a little bit. He's still got to make it his team, and that takes time. And I, Oxford was never going to be an easy game, first game of the season, right? They're a newly promoted team coming up from League One. They probably, want to win that game so much, and that was evidence. In that game, they just wanted that way much more than we did. You could just tell. But in typical Norwich fashion, when things don't go our way, we tend to boo very early on, and we tend to get on the sporting director's back, their manager's back, the players back very, very quickly. And I really, really hope that doesn't happen this season because this is a long-term plan, like we said, and we are going to lose games, and it's not going to be a Norwich that we're used to seeing. And I do feel like there is a sense of entitlement with a lot of Norwich fans thinking that we should be doing a lot better than we actually are. I don't think we're going to be pushing for playoffs at all this season, but I feel like there's an entitlement that we should be doing that, and we are good enough to be doing that. But personally, I don't think we're anywhere near that at the moment.
Yeah, no, I can only agree with that. I don't think we'll be playoff contenders. If we are, I think it will be due to a late push, rather than a good start. But I do just think there's better squads and better teams out there than us, and we're just gonna have to bide our time and I think really buy into the philosophy of what's now changing at the club and give everyone time at the club to prove they're the right people, to get us promoted, whether that's this year or next year or even potentially third year.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's very, very similar to Farke's first season. I don't like going back to the past. I don't like keep talking about it. But when Farke came in, that was part of a plan. That first season, we had those good outlets that he did, like Madison in our team and like the Murphys. He then had to get rid of them. And so be it. What happened next year? We went up. So I'm expecting this season to be very, kind of mid-table-ish, probably pushing towards the promotion, like a 9th to 12th kind of position. But, I was looking earlier, the season that went up under Farke, we had one win in six in our first 6 games. We hadn't, we drew the first one, lost the next two, won, and then lost, then drew again. Again, they're teams like Birmingham, who you'd expect would be at the start, West Brom, Sheffield United, Leeds, Ipswich, all good teams. I feel that's very similar to this year. We've got Oxford, we've got Blackburn that come away with a good win. We've got Coventry and Sheffield United to come up, who no doubt are going to do good this season as well. So I just think we need to be patient. I just think we need to realise as a fan base that change does take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's going to take a while to probably find our identity that we want. But overall, the game wasn't positive. If we just break down that game a little bit, Chris, what were your initial thoughts of that starting 11 when that came out?
I was shocked at the centre back partnership. To be honest, I think that was the one bit that got me. I didn't expect to see Duffy and Hanley. I maybe thought I'd maybe see a Sorensen. I mean, my Brad Hill's agenda, I was hoping to see that he would be starting. Um, I just don't think either of them have got kind of the passing ability to play in that team the way that we need. But for the rest of the squad, I mean, obviously Johnny Rowe news broke, so
We'll get onto
a
that in a
lot.
bit.
Yeah, I won't touch on that too much, but like I was kind of then realistically I was expecting to see Fashionat over Kamara. I don't think Kamara had a hugely impressive pre-season. I'm not saying Fashionat did, but
But Fashionat didn't play. He played one game.
yeah, but I think there's also an element of man management to be played out that he wants obviously philosophy young players, but Oxford away first game back in the um, championship for kind of 20, 25 years, they're going to be up for it. It's a potential banana skin. I'm not saying he's done it to protect younger players, but he's probably gone with a bit more experience than youth to try and get him over the banana skin. Because if the youth then, if Brad, I'm not saying Brad Hills is the kind of character that take it to heart, but if you've started Brad Hills, you've started Kamara, and you've started other young players to then be coming off if they still lost the game 2-0, which could have happened, to then be booed off can have a huge knock on the confidence. So I'm not saying he did it to protect them, but he could have potentially looked at it as a right, this potential banana skin. Let's trust the old guard to try and get us over the line on this one, and then we'll start looking to bleed those kind of youth players in. Equally, I don't think a lot of them were fit. I think Forson would have started if he had been with us for longer. I think Cordoba would have started if he had been fully fit. I also think Brycene probably would have started, and Doyle would have probably gone left centre back if he was fit as well. So I think he kind of played the hand he was dealt with, but it just wasn't a very good hand to start with, unfortunately.
I agree. The only thing that I'll be honest did shock me the most was Fashionac starting over Kamara. Um, you know, Fashionac played one game that pre-season, and it was the first one against Northampton. I don't think he even travelled with the squad to their two abroad ones. And for him to then start that game against Kamara, who'd been travelling, who'd been to most of them games, getting the minutes, I think it's absolutely nuts, personally. I know what you said, it may have been to protect him, but Kamara's playing this team last year, for Portsmouth. And I think that's extremely unfair for him to then start that game on the bench. Fashionac, I haven't seen him pre-season. We all know what he done last season. He didn't play a lot. He had a few goals here and there, but probably didn't. He isn't this player that we all thought he would be. Maybe it's taken him a bit of time to, mould to this English football, but I don't think he's what we expected as a player. There were talks of him potentially playing that cam position, but he went back out on the right. But I personally think Kamara should have started that game, and we'll talk about him in a bit with the transfer links, but I think he has every right to be slightly pissed off for not starting that game, to be involved a lot in that pre-season, to then be dropped by someone who hasn't even been part of the plans throughout that whole pre-season yeah, I'd be annoyed.
Yeah, no, I do get it. I think, as I said, either way, I don't see us having this starting 11 anytime soon, if ever again. So I think it's now just going to be a waiting game to see what happens with the next squad against Blackburn.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we'll ever see centre back pairing again, like you say. But in typical Norwich fashion, they're probably going to be starting again against Blackburn, aren't they? Their last game they ever played together as a pair, like you said, it was against Blackburn. They're 100% going to now be the centre back pairing 8 years on
Yeah,
against that team that they last played against with each other. Cordoba does have a slight knock, like you said. That's why he didn't play, I presume. Um, what is it with Norwich getting players that are injured? That always seems to happen. But Hanley for that first goal, I don't know what on earth he was thinking there. I think he'd done a typical Hanley and tried to get that foul, didn't he? By like pushing it back and go over. We know he loves one of them, but didn't didn't work this time, and he got found out, and they scored from it. And a lot of goals do go underneath Gunn's legs, don't they?
yeah. That's what I was going to say there. That was very typical. Hanley's trademark is very much get his body between the ball and the player, wait for contact, go down. He went for
Yeah,
it again this time. Ref didn't buy it, which doesn't shock me. And yeah, it was. I mean, it was a well taken goal. Yes, Gunn could have arguably have done better, but yeah, it was a well taken finish. So was the second. But yeah, I think the most slight question marks over Gunn for the first, but we'll have to wait and see how that one kind of transpires for the rest of the season, because obviously I do think goalkeepers, when you change your philosophy, is a very big change. I mean, we had Ruddy and Krul change over with Farker, didn't we? And it's really, I mean, it, I know Gunn's very good with his feet, but is there potential for Thorpe to be like, maybe I need a new number one? We won't know. And I think there'll be a lot of twists and turns before the start of the season. Well, end of the transfer window, sorry. I think there'll be a lot of kind of changes to come in this squad.
doesn't Angus Gunn only have? Isn't this his last year of his contract as well?
Not 100% sure, but if it is, that could make it even more interesting potentially.
Let me just double check now. Bear with me. Um, I'm pretty sure this is his last year of his contract. Um, you know, could it be worth? Yeah, there you go. Contract expires 30th of June 2025. So he is in his last year of his Norwich contract. Could it be worth us trying to get some money in for him now? Um, and if Thorpe does want someone different, now's probably the perfect time to get that keeper in.
Potentially, I suppose it's all kind of hearsay until the window shuts now. But yeah, I was just saying that's maybe a potential avenue, but I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying when a new manager comes in, it must surely be on their mind on what their next steps would be, especially for goalkeepers when it's such an important position.
So obviously Hanley with that error at the start, and we don't think that would be our centre back partnership, going forward. I think we're all aware that it won't be, with Cordoba being that left-sided centre back, and seeing Hanley's pre-season and how that Oxford game went, I think he was probably one of the more lower-rated players out of that squad. Do you think that is now or coming to the end of his Norwich City career?
Like possibly, I think there's a lot of emphasis on kind of like club captain. You can't get rid of your club captain, can't drop your club captain. But I do think it is now kind of now it's the right time. Change of guard, Cordova, Hills, players like that. Doyle can play centre back. I just don't think he can cut it in a quick pace passing team. There was always kind of question marks with him, kind of to the latter end of like the Farkas era. Um, so yeah, I think sadly it'll be his time to leave soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's been a great servant for Norwich over the years. He's had some memorable moments like we spoke about previously, but I think with the direction that we're going in, I think unfortunately we tried it and it didn't work. I think, like you say, with the way that we now want to play, I don't think he suits that style. So unfortunately, I think that's not gonna mean that he'll probably be playing a lot this season. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much you've seen the game. I've looked at the highlights and I've heard from people there, but it wasn't really great all round. I think Sargent only had a few touches max and a few shots. I think Stacey had an average game. Duffy again, I don't think he done too much wrong at that game. Doyle I had looked okay. I think it's taken a bit of time, or will take a bit of time for him to kind of gel with this team. He did only come in on the Monday, didn't he? He was straight in on that team on that Saturday, so I think it will take a little time for him to gel within that team. I heard McLean wasn't too good that game as well, not his best performance. Same with Gibbs. I heard Fashnak again really wasn't good at all. Didn't do a lot. Nunez couldn't really find his feet. Signs again didn't do too much. The two positives that I'm hearing and then what people said to take from that game was that Forson looked really, really positive when he came on. And that Ida, even though with the speculation of him leaving, and it's looking likely he may go, looked really, really positive and wanted to try and do a job for us. But overall, it wasn't a great day at the office, was it?
No, and I managed to watch most of the game, and yeah, it just wasn't good across the whole park. There was no kind of Doyle looked good, but I just don't think he was helped out by his centre backs, which then made him look slightly exposed in places. I thought Stacey looked okay. Midfield didn't look good at all. Sarge was given nothing to work off of. And I just think, yeah, the bright sparks really were Forson and Ida, sorry. So I know Forson, like his energy, every first touch seemed to be forwards. Uh, his pass completion wasn't amazing, but it was all positive, which was really nice to see. And Ida had a couple of kind of bright sparks where I think it was Doyle paid one over the top and he took it really well on his chest and created an opportunity. I think that was the one which was then blocked when Stacey had a shot. So yeah, I mean, Ida's got a point to prove though. He wants that move. He wants to keep on performing well. So I don't blame him for that. Um, but yeah, it's a little bit worrying when you're two bright sparks or you're two only semi to decent performing players, the two substitutes that you bring on.
Yeah, definitely. Um, let's hope we kind of try and kick on from this. We'll talk a little bit about Blackburn later on in the pod and what we think, but hopefully we kick on, and I hope we really do well. I really do. And it's not, we want to be negative. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But we'll kind of try and be positive where we can. But unfortunately, there was nothing really to get behind. That Oxford game was there.
No, no, exactly. As I said, not panic stations, but not a lot of positives to take out apart from we are kind of getting in slowly getting more youth players coming in, younger players coming off the bench, Forsyth, for example, and bits like that. So yeah, not a lot to be positive about, but it's not panic stations. I think we just go again against Blackburn and hopefully see a different starting 11. Hopefully,
Yep, no, I agree. Right, let's move on to transfers, ingoings and potential outgoings. You know, whilst we're on the subject of that first game, let's just start with Rowe, and what unfolded, that that morning of the game. Um, I don't I I don't really know where to start, to be honest. So the reports were that Rowe asked to be left out of the team on the morning, obviously due to the speculation of him getting a transfer away from Norwich, potentially Marseille looking the favourites. Been rumoured with Leeds as well. Um, I'll just go through my take on that situation, Chris, and then obviously come over to you. Um, you know, if if he doesn't want to be here, so be it. Let him go at the end of the day. I think clearly there's probably an attitude problem there. Someone that has been asked to be taken out of the team the day of a game over some speculations of a transfer, I think was very selfish of someone to do that. But I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There could be a number of factors that's contributed to him not wanting to play. I don't know. But I just think Norwich is a club that have given you that opportunity to really progress in your professional career. The fans getting behind you last season, although you've had some setbacks, the fans always wanted you to play. Fans always cheering your name week in, week out. And for you to then do that on the first game of the season, I think is extremely selfish. But at the end of the day, I'm a little bit immune to this Rowe situation at the moment. I'm just, it's not like my head's gone. I just think if you don't want to be here, go. There's no point kind of keep talking about it, keep going on, keep posting about it. What he's done's pathetic. But at the end of the day, everyone moves on. Players come, players go. We'll be just as good Norwich in a couple of years without Rowe. But if he doesn't want to be here, so be it. And I don't think he should be in that starting squad within the weeks to come. I think if he doesn't want to be here, get him out.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I'll be honest. I think when I heard it was 20 minutes before kickoff. Like, that's not like that's just not acceptable in any way. I mean, imagine me calling up work 20 minutes beforehand and going, not in the right headspace for that today because some other company have come in and said they might want to speak to me. Like, I think it's a joke. I think it's also hugely, hugely disrespectful to Thorpe. You've got your new gaffers come in. He's just about to do his first lineup in the championship, and you've decided to one, do that to him, two, do that to your teammates, three, do it to the fans. Like, there's no going back from it. I think he's gone from hero to zero. I mean, people were giving absolute pelters to either for being late on getting on a plane to Austria, which, by all intents and purposes, slightly related to a transfer. So I do kind of get it, right? But you can't just have players trying to run a club like that. Like, it never ends well. So get rid. I'm the same philosophy with anyone in the squad. If they do not want to be here, we need them gone. We need every single player in that squad, whether they're playing or not, to be all put in the right direction, and most importantly, all wanting to be here. If they're not, get them gone. As you said, the players move on, managers move on, sporting directors move on, everyone moves on. The only two constants are the club, which are always bigger than the player, and the fans. They're the only two constants. Doesn't matter if players move on, doesn't matter if they leave. I think what's just really irked me is just how like utterly, utterly disrespectful it is to everyone involved for me.
I agree. You know, I I just cannot believe what he has done. And from my Norwich City lifetime fan experience, I can't genuinely. I I used to love Rowe. I love him, and me and Chris, we were raving on about him 2, 3 years ago. I can't think of anything worse than this. I genuinely can't. There was a lot of stuff about Cantwell, right? And that was awful. But I genuinely think this is a lot worse in that situation. The way that he's just disrespected the club like that in a drop of a heartbeat over a speculate. What we've got to remember is nothing's even been set in from what I've read. It might be, I don't know. I don't know enough. But from what I've seen, nothing's even set in concrete. There's speculations over a rumor. He could, by all means, theoretically, not even go to any club this year and still be at us this year. I don't know what he's thinking. Was it an agent thing? I don't know.
Yeah, there's
But
talks on Twitter around kind of the agency that he's with is renowned for getting players to force a move. I think Notto, I know it didn't work out for him, force a move at Leeds, but he obviously down tools and stopped playing for them, and they were quick to have him back. I just don't think Norwich fans will ever be that quick to have him back personally. And as you said, there may be offers on the table right now. We're not sure, but as it stands, he's still a Norwich player. He does all these Instagram posts and X tweets and everything like that around or die for this club. This club's great, or like all this stuff. He does this like it's a joke. And Campbell got a lot of heat, and rightfully so, in my opinion. Like it was a very similar thing about huge attitude problems. Like I don't know, maybe it's kind of we've had contrasting youth prospects, haven't we, that have handled themselves really differently. I think Max Aaron's was prime example of being linked with Barca, but still turned up, still put in sort of 7 out of 10 performance every week. Didn't let it kind of cloud his judgment in any way. And then we've got someone with like no disrespect to Leeds are sniffing around him, and his head's gone. Yeah, that's that's all I can say on it. I think before I get too annoyed, I just get him gone, cut ties, take 12 million for him, reinvest that in the squad. We'll be loving life. We move on. The club keeps going.
yeah, but what annoys me is obviously the speculation with Leeds. Okay, I know they're probably going to do well this season. We're predicting them to do all right. They could even go up to the Premier League. Fair enough, but they're still in our division. Marseille, they finished eighth in Ligue 1, or however you want to say it, last season. And, I just don't understand that move. They haven't even got Europe football. And it's just, could they get it this season? Maybe that's, the attractive part to him. But I just, I just really don't get what he's done. I just think it's extremely strange for someone that seems to be so humble and loves the club. But we don't know what goes on the inside. He could be arrogant for all we know. We just don't see it. And he's portraying this character to the fans. We don't know what goes on within the club, but I do feel very, very sorry, Thorup, like you said. That's not what a new manager needs going into their first game of the season.
Exactly that. Exactly that. But I'm sure it'll all be sorted by the end of the transfer window, and we can hopefully move on.
Just move on. Yeah, exactly that. So, um, another, player that has been speculated a lot, who has decided to keep quite a level head, and play to the best of his ability, is Adam Eder. We've seen that a bid of about 4 million has been rejected, and it's looking like a new and an improved bid of 6 million plus add-ons has now come in for him. I guess we don't really need to talk too much about it because we've been talking about it quite a long. But fully expecting him to go by the end of the transfer window, aren't we?
Yeah, fully expecting it. But again, as long as he keeps turning out for the team and putting in performances like he did last time, um, I, I can't complain. He deserves a move. It'd be good for all parties. 6 million. I know there was people kind of mentioning around that he's got a 5 year contract and things like that, but I don't think he's shown anything to us to show that he's more than a £6 million player. So
Agreed.
yeah, no, I 100% agree.
So the the new kind of transfer outgoing that's come to light. It's not really an outgoing; it's just kind of interest. Is Abu Kamara again? So obviously we're aware Portsmouth would love him back at the club, following him from his loan spell last year. But it's being reported that potentially Hull are interested in him as well. Um, Again, I personally think if he wants to go and he'll be getting that regular first team football, then I think we should personally let him go. I just think like I spoke about earlier, I think Sunday is is a prime example, right? He's a young player that wants to play football week in and week out and be starting. And I just don't think Norwich is that club to give him that. And Sunday, prime example. Fashionat hasn't played all pre-season, started above him. Again, I don't know what. I must stress this enough. Me and Chris have no idea what's going on in the background. Nobody does. You just go by what you see on social media and other bits that you may know. But for a player as young as him and to be playing a lot of games last taste of it, I just don't think we are the club to give him that regular game time week in, week out. I think if there's a club that comes in for him that wants to play him, I just think he should go and we get the money for him now.
Yeah, again, I suppose it's all an attitude thing with me. If his attitude stays in a good place, then yeah, great. Let's see what happens. But I can see us if Rowe goes signing another winger, which would be a first choice winger, which would then leave Signs and that new winger. So if he wanted to go, let him. I'm not too kind of fussed by it. I think it could be another Mumba situation where we never really get to see the best of them and they get moved on. They may excel, they may not, but I think it's just a matter of time really to see what happens rather than I don't know. I think I think the whole Rowe situation has just sparked a couple of switches in Norwich fans' heads where it's just like if you're not buying into it, just go. Like it's easier for everyone basically.
Yeah. One question I want to ask you is, with Rowe going, looking like he is going to go, he may stay, God knows. With Rowe potentially going, Kamara potentially going as well, Ida potentially going, Barnes injury prone and injured at the moment following some surgery. Does it slightly worry you with the attacking options that we have currently at the moment? Obviously, Sargent up top, we've got Signs on the left, we've got Barnes to come back. Are you a little bit worried about that attacking kind of formation at the moment with what we've got and with the potential outgoing?
Not in a way, I'm not because I know we'll reinforce, but I believe we'll reinforce and reinvest that money from Rowe. Obviously,
Do
we've
you
had
think we'll do it
the.
well though? That's the question.
I, I think we do. I feel quite confident in the. It's very obvious the philosophy we're now going down. Doyle, Forson, Christine, all those kind of players, all under 21, I think, um, and stuff like that. I think we're really moving in the right direction. And we've obviously got the Sarah money, which we both had an absolute another on the last pod, me saying the Galatasaray links were feeble, your hot take being Rowan Sarah would still be here at the end of the window.
We don't talk
Um,
about
but we've also got that money as well. I know it's coming in incremental stages over years, but most transfers are like that anyway. It does provide stability for the club going forwards. But if Rowe goes, I do think we've got a little bit of money to be thrown around. If you add on top of that Ida going, if you add on top of that the wages that we've cut, as
that.
well
And
as a little
Sarah
bit,
already
yeah,
gone.
Jovis we get a little bit from. I think we will potentially spend kind of 10 or so million and keep the rest in the bank in case we need to break it for January, I reckon.
A right winger and a striker is a must now. I think right winger even more so. Um, and I feel like we need to reinvest there. There were links with that Crystal Palace right wing. I forget the name. Chris, can you
Yeah,
remember?
he's been the issue with that link is that he has been linked with literally everybody in the championship. I believe we were linked.
Leeds, Sheffield United, and Luton. Apparently, Leeds are putting a £15 million bid in for the player, but Crystal Palace rejected because they want to keep him and they only want to put him out on loan. Sheffield United have gone in with a loan bid, but apparently we've now put our interest in with already about 3 teams interested in the player already. So that's looking like that's a no-go. But you never know in Norwich, do you? It's got to be some player no one's even thought of that we're going to see a 3-minute montage of and be absolutely head over heels with them.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
normally happens. But I think if Ida does go and Rowe does go, we do need to definitely cover for those positions. My hot take last pod, like you mentioned, was absolutely awful, clearly. But I just really didn't think they were going to go. But that's football for you at the end of the day, isn't it? Time change. We kind of put those Galatasaray rumours to bed. Next thing you know, he's in a shirt on the plane signing for him. You know, who
yeah.
who who would have ever in their wildest dreams expect Rowe to go now not playing on the first game? It's just so
Yeah,
not in his character to do that.
so
You
out of
just
the norm. Yeah,
yeah, you just can't predict these things, and that's just football for you, and that's why we love it so much. It's just so unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen. Um, but that's all in the fun of it, isn't it? We will move on to Sarah. He has gone to Galatasaray. Um, there was a lot of weird kind of backs. Well, it wasn't backwards and forth, but like the the price that we got for him. So many reports were just so off. But I think the final report was like 20 million euros with a potential of 23 in add-ons over like a 4-year period. Um, the only thing that worries me about that is some clubs are still waiting money from Galatasaray for players that they've done that with previously, where they've done it in installments. Um, it's a shame that Gabby's gone. Um, from I've seen on Ernal's TikTok, he's already back at the training ground eating omelets again.
yeah,
He's just signed for the bloody club. It really does seem to me that is a player that genuinely didn't want to go, but we had to get rid. That makes me sad because we all love him so much, and he's got bags of potential. I'm happy that he did go to a club like Galatasaray rather than a rival. I will
agree.
say, and he has got Champions League football now, which is probably one of his career ambitions as well. So, nothing but love for Sarah. I hope he really does kick on and be that amazing player that he was for Norwich. I hope one day, maybe later down the line, we get to see him back in the Norwich shirt.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold out hope. I think he's got a very high ceiling. He's one of the players I want to do really well. I know he's left, but I'm still going to follow
Yeah,
him, and I hope he does really well.
definitely. But yeah, 20. What? It's difficult because we're getting 20 million, right, and then 3 million add-ons. but I think it's like 5 million a year, which, fair enough. We need the money, and Napa's clearly got a plan. He was happy with that, but to me that kind of seems that they're not reinvesting that back into the players as such. That's going towards other costs.
Yeah, potentially, potentially. At the end of the day, there's a lot of money that goes into running football clubs, and without parachute payments, it's going to become harder and harder for us, and we're going to have to get these funds from somewhere. So the only place you can really do it is by selling your best assets, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. So we'll just talk about incomings. So Doyle, one that's been speculated for a long, long time, which was pretty much certain, came in. He's on a season-long loan from Man City. Really, really pleased with that. We've spoken about him before. He should be a really good addition to our team. I made a joke that Doyle isn't the player to take us up. He's probably the player to keep us up at this rate. But the young man's got bags of ability, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him in a Norwich shirt this year. The thing that I just really didn't like was that he went on that pre-season tour with Man City to America. I just thought that was all a bit strange.
Yeah, I think probably from a Man City perspective, they wanted him there to see what he could do. I'm not kind of too worried by that. I mean, he's having a pre-season with arguably the best team in the world, which can only hopefully help him out. But to be honest, I think he's such a professional. He's already kind of come around different championship clubs. So I don't think it'll exactly take long to settle in. So yeah, no, I'm very happy with that signing of Dora. I think he could really kick on and really help us.
Let's hope he does. I'm sure he will. Fantastic player. Let's hope that he does amazing things for Norwich City this year. One that moved quite fast, that no one was expecting, was I'm probably going to butcher this first name, Amankwa Forson. We'll just refer to him as Forson. We've brought him for 4.5 million from RB Salzburg. Um, he played 23 times last year, scoring 2, assisting 2. So, I'm happy with the signing. Like we said, he's quite positive. In that time that he did come on, I think he does, play for Ghana national team as well. And I'm feeling it does come, from those links that Thorpe did have at his previous club that we may have been looking, or Thorpe may have been looking at him for a while. But how do you feel about the Forson signing?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think many Norwich fans knew a lot about him before we signed him, but from what I've seen, and to be honest, just from his 45-minute cameo, um, I was really impressed. I thought everything was really forward thinking. He tried to link up the play, but he was looking to around players. Every first touch was a forward first touch. Um, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start the next game. But yeah, I tell you what, he's an exciting player. Like you see him on the ball and he's unpredictable. When he's unpredictable, he gets the crowd off their seats. And I'm not saying he'll be the exact replacement for Sarah, but he certainly looks a nifty player, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do in the next few games.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. So that's everything at the moment. Transfer wise, not many speculations incoming, but I presume we're going to be in for a quite busy end of the transfer window. So moving on, we did put a tweet up earlier about some topics that they want covered, and we got a reply from a, a lovely chap named Simon who said, I'd like to know what people's opinions of the is it Asensio's? Is that how you'd say
Antanazio,
it? So, yeah,
Antanazio,
Atancio.
Antanazios.
And that personally think investment is going to be limited. He talked game, but not convinced just yet. Yeah, I'll. My personal opinion is he's a businessman, right? He's a typical businessman. You know, I, d- I don't think his heart is fully in Norwich City as people make it out to be. You know, at the end of the day, he's there to make, isn't he? And I think that's apparent with him potentially looking at buying other clubs. I think it was Sporting Lisbon that he's interested in. He's there to make money, and I feel people got the wrong perception of him, thinking he's this very family orientated man that buys into fans and things like that. You know, he he's a businessman at the end of the day. He's there to make money. I don't think, we'll be seeing a lot of his money just yet. I don't think we're going to see it right from the bat. I feel like we'll see it in the future. I think the money at the moment being used is probably to pay off some of the club's debt more than anything, recoup some of the costs from players that were lost money on. Obviously, we don't get parachute payments anymore, so that has a quite big impact on the club. So I think the focus for Norwich at the moment is to get the club back to a financially stable position before we start looking to spend big on them players. But Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think with them, obviously, they've cleared basically all our debt, which is huge for us. Um, we were never expecting them really to spend a lot of money. I think if you were, that was a little bit foolish. I think with the Brewers, they weren't ones that, and their fans were saying they're not ones to spend money. I believe, as you said, they are linked with a Portuguese club. I think it might be Benfica. But again, I don't know how far that will go. But I think they're there to give us stability rather than mass investment, which, depending on how you look at it, is good and potentially bad if we're still having to run this self-finance model. But I think they'll probably be a bit more cutthroat than what Delia is at the moment. And I do think probably long term they will kind of buy Delia out. But I think that'll still be a couple of years down the line, I reckon.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, uh, I feel like they are. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I put quite a negative kind of twist on him. I definitely think he's the right man for the job, and I think he does give a positive impact. I still just think it's early days at the moment, and we've got to remember he's there to make money at the end of the day, isn't he? And that kind of love from Delia being so kind of, I don't know what the word would be, but it's not like possessive. It's just like so precious. That's it, precious over Norwich. I think that will soon be kind of gone with him, and hopefully looking to take that kind of full reign in years to come. But I do think he is the right man for the job for sure.
Yeah.
Right, last pod, Chris done a blind rank strikers list. It's my turn to get revenge and do a blind rank midfielder tier list for Chris. I will just specify, okay, this is a centre mid really only tier list. So when I say midfielders, I'm not including right mids, left mids, okay?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Right. First one, okay, to start you off. There's 10 here. You've got to blind rank them. Number 1, Safri.
It feel like you always pack out the middle, don't you? And then you always have the howlers at the end. But yeah,
Just
I'm gonna go
just
with
what you
6.
think. 6th. Okay. Number 2, Johnny Howson.
I think. Oh, I really like Johnny Howson. I'm trying to think who else could be around the corner. I think I know recent events people have kind of turned the Howson away, but I'm gonna go with second.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, what? Right. We're going to number 3, Bradley Johnson.
See, the thing is, his best season kind of came when he was playing on the left. I don't think his best season was actually when he was a centre mid. What did I say for
Bradley.
Safri? 6.
Yeah, Bradley Johnson.
Go 5.
5. Okay. Again, slightly controversial. He's played in multiple positions. Gabriel Sara.
3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay. 3. All right. Next player, Kenny McLean.
Okay. What I've done. I've done 2, 3. Have I done 4?
You haven't done 4?
And then I've done 5, 6. Have I done 7?
No. So you've gone Howson 2, Sarah 3, Johnson 5th, Safri 6th.
I
Kenny
absolutely
McLean.
love Kenny McLean, but I'm gonna try and take my personal bias out of how much I love him and put him 7th.
So out of the tier list, you think McLean's 7? Player
Yeah,
of the year last year.
I can't put him.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't
Okay.
justify the other
Okay.
ones. I don't think.
All right. Okay. Right. Next up, Jeremy Goss.
Oh. See, we all know what you're trying to do, and you
What?
all know that David Fox is my favourite player of all time. So
Right.
I'm gonna just commit to leaving the one space. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. What was the highest spot after 1?
4th.
Jeremy Goss is 4th then.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Okay. Right.
That's
Next
okay.
up, Sammy Cliggan.
Right, yeah, we'll go 10. We'll go 10 for Clinton.
10 for Cliggan. I used to
Yeah.
love Sammy Cliggan back in the
Yeah,
day.
I love it, but yeah, I feel like I threw in more howlers than you. This has been really close, annoyingly close. Go on.
So just to confirm, Sammy Cliggan 10.
Yeah.
Right. Next up, Gary Holt.
What do I don't have? So I've got 1 and 8, haven't I? No, 1, 4, and 8.
No. So you got 1, 9. Yeah, 1, 8, and 9.
8.
So Gary Holt, number 8. Right. Next up. So you've got 1 and 9 left.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, you've got 1 and 9 left.
Yeah, well, I'm committing to David Fox being the last person. So
Okay. All right. Next up, Oliver Skip.
9.
Would you actually have him as 9 now?
To be fair, I don't think I'd. He's probably in and around those regions. Like, I don't think he'd be top 5. So yeah, 9, and then I've just committed.
So, Chris was, a little bit harsh on me last week, and this is a game of bluff, and did I add David Fox? Didn't I? So this is who Chris, as his blind ranking belief, is the number 1 best midfielder in this list. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I go David Fox? Yes or no?
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Brilliant.
Number one is Vadis Ajida Afo.
Oh, I'll take that. What a player. His one assist or whatever for Teddy against Southampton.
So your blind ranking
It's a howler,
is
isn't it?
number 10, Sammy Clingan. Number 9, Oliver Skip. Number 8, Gary Holt. Number 7, Kenny McLean. Number 6, Safri. Number 5, Bradley Johnson. Number 4, Jeremy Goss. Number 3, Sarah. Number 2, Johnny Hansen. Number 1, Ajida Afo.
Take that one on the chin.
Yep,
Yeah,
is
it's a
that is
howler.
awful. Yeah,
That is really bad. That is a lot worse than yours.
yeah, that is very, very poor. I can't lie. But, it's blind ranking. You don't know what's next. I
Yeah.
guess the next one is next week's pod for defenders.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
like
we'll do one of them, shall we? We'll do that next week. But, yeah, anyway, right. Moving on to this week's game against Blackburn. You know, we spoke about the starting 11. We expect it to be very, very different. What are you hoping to see, and what would you, realistically expect from Blackburn?
I think that's still a tricky one. Depends if Samuel Schmodox is still there. I think he's pivotal to keeping them ticking. But yeah, I'd like to think the home fans will get behind the team a bit more, and back kind of Thorpe. But I do see wholesale changes. Well, I'd like to think there's going to be wholesale changes. In regards to that starting 11, I'd like to see Forson start, maybe Cordoba start if he can get minutes midweek, potentially Hills, and then there may be other signings coming in the week. We have no idea, but wishful thinking at this point in time. But yeah, maybe a new winger or maybe even a new striker. You never know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Blackburn will be difficult. I think they have quite a good track record against us at Carrow Road. They always seem to beat us 3-1, 3-0 in recent times. They've started off well this season. Their first game was a win against Derby, netting in 4, which is quite impressive. If they do have Schmodix, which they probably will. I can't see him leaving anytime soon. He'll be pivotal to them. We just got to hope, that something does change our end. From the performance against Oxford. I don't think Cordoba will probably play. I think we're probably going to be seeing a Sorensen there, if anything. And we have got the cup game against Stevenage on Tuesday, which is where I think we'll probably be seeing a lot more game time for Hills, Forson, Kamara. I think that's where they'll probably get their minutes rather than the league game. But personally, I'd rather him in that league game. So we'll see. Let's hope for a better result. And like you said, nail on the head. Let's just get behind them. Carrow Road, first home game of the season. Let's make it, a good atmosphere. Let's get behind the lads. Thorpe has, had a shit kind of week to deal with players and things. Let's just get behind him, support the boys. Football's back at Carrow Road. Let's just go away and try and enjoy it.
Exactly that, Luke. Exactly that.
So yeah, let's do it. Let's get behind him. Safe stand is now back at Carrow Road. Let's go and give it our all as fans. Let's not get behind him. Not get behind him. Jeez, let's get behind him. And support them like we have done in recent years, and not getting their backs too quick if things we think don't go our way, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the social aspect of being back and watching football at Carrow Road again. So very exciting. Saturday did see our first appearance of the new third kit. Chris, what are you making of it? Does it bang? Does it not? What are your thoughts?
I really like it. I think it's
You
one of,
really like it, do you?
yeah, I think it's one of those that, like, it looks a classic already, and yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I've got to say, I think the kits have, I think the away kit's probably the nicest, but then I'll go third kit and then home kit for me.
Mine goes third away, home.
Yeah, I think home is definitely the weaker out of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that third kit is so nice and clean. I like the design of the away kit, but like I just think that one, everyone has their own personal opinion, but that one just simple kind of color throughout, not like the dashes in that away kit of like the yellow over the black. I'm quite simple. I like just that one color throughout. Um, and it's just a beauty, isn't it? If that away kit was all black without the yellow dashes, oh, that'd be
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I quite like the yellow splashes, but I think they've kind of done a kit for everyone, in my opinion. Like a slick one with like a little twist on it, and a slightly kind of edgier one with the away kit with the dashes. So yeah, I think everyone's got a kit that they can buy this year, basically.
Is it time for us to do a away kit and then a third kit tier list like
Yes,
we've done with the home?
it could possibly be that time in the next few
Yeah.
weeks for sure.
Well, now that they're out, why
Yeah,
not? Eh?
yeah, we'll get it done.
Hopefully we have better takes than your poor one where everyone
Yeah,
went against you.
we don't need to talk about
Ah, right.
that.
Okay. But yeah, um, I'm just looking forward, to football being back again in typical Norwich fashion. Didn't go the way that we'd hope, and already it's caused an absolute storm, and we're only one game in. But do you expect anything less from Norwich City?
Never. We'll never
Never.
change.
No, we'll never change. Absolutely brilliant. And I will tell you this now, me and Chris absolutely live for the drama.
Oh, 100%. It's the best bit about being a Norwich fan is the meltdowns.
100%. It's seeing it unfold. It I don't know. I just find it fascinating. You know, seeing some of the stuff people say, and people losing their head over such small things. Just brilliant. Um, but that's about time now, Christopher, man. Before I go through the question, is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, it's just the standard. Make sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube, following us on X, Canaries Chat with two T's at the end. We've got TikTok, Instagram as well, Canaries Chat. But yeah, apart from that, that's all I've got to say, Leaky Boy.
I will just add on that as well. On X, we are very, very close to 1,000 followers. Absolutely unreal. I think, let me just pull it up now quickly. We're on 934 followers, and just a thank you to everyone that supported us over the last month and a half or so. Me and Chris never in our wildest dreams would have thought we'd be in the position we are so quick. But that's all down to you guys and your support. So thank you ever so much for your continued support. And me and Chris have been saying this is just the start. This is the start of the new championship season. Expect more content from us as well. We're looking to, put predictions out and hopefully get some guests on from opposing teams as well to chat about the games before they're played as well. So thank you all for your continued support. As always, give us a follow if you can. Review Spotify, although it didn't come out on Spotify last time. There's a bit of an error with that. Chris, thank you again, my man. Thanks for coming along, as always.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, Luke. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Oh, good. Well then, let's finish up on a Norwich City trivia question. I'm not sure if this is an easy one or quite a hard one. I hope none of you guys at home are looking up the answers and putting them on, because that would be unfair. What I want you to try and do is answer the question without looking it up. And as always, if you do answer it and get it correct, you could be in with a chance of getting a shout out in the pod. Nobody got last question correct, I believe, which was, where did Madison go on loan?
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah.
What was the answer, Chris?
It was Aberdeen.
Aberdeen, that's right. So yeah, he went alone at Aberdeen. Who would have thought? Well, me, it's already happened. But yeah, if you get it right, you're in with a chance of getting a shout out. So all that's left to say is, which club did Norwich City sign legend Grant Holt from? I'll let you guys think about that. Put your comments down below. As always, I hope you all have a lovely week, and I'll see you guys next time on next pod. Bye.